there by around August 2nd, 2007.
Just excuse me, that was the one where the boundary adjustment is, and so I have to step out, I didn't.
So we will need another seconder as well.
I'll say.
Yes.
Second for Costa Elias.
These points, bylaw 3651 is an OCP amendment. The shown in Appendix 1, the two properties involved. One is a large property at 1B41 30th Street Northeast. The other is a portion of a property located at 1381. The purpose of the OCP amendment application is to redesignate from medium density residential to high density residential. And the purpose of the OCP amendment is to facilitate a 52-unit. In terms of location, staff believe that the amendment from medium density to high density residential is appropriate. It's an appropriate location for adding some additional density, primarily in terms of its location. It's close to schools, major transportation routes, as well as some future commercial development near existing and future commercial development nearby. And therefore, staff are supportive of the application.
Thank you, Councilor Elias.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll be voting in favor of this amendment. I'd like to thank staff, I guess, for their work in addressing the issues that we've identified as we wanted to tackle as council and then bringing it forward. Increasing density, which is a major push by the council, as well as dealing with the issue of rental houses. And this is a good project that, like staff said, is close to the amenities, close to schools, close to bus routes, and recreation facilities. So I think this is a great way that the city can realize taxation through not increasing roads and increasing our infrastructure costs using what we have. So that's what to me infill and density means, and I think that this is a great example. So I'll be voting in favor.
Councilor Zan.
Your Worship, since the planning meeting where we discussed this, looked at the design. One thing that's bugging me a little bit, recognizing that the development is intended to be built in 2 phases, and I know this is something that just the zoning, right? Or OCP. But just one question for staff is in relation to the sort of internal road layout. Why wouldn't the second phase be tied to the first phase? It just seems odd to me as part of our sort of trying to have good flow and fire safety, all those things that are in under sort of official community plan and zoning issues. I don't know what's the appropriate time to ask, but it's just one of those things that kind of popped up at me after I reread all the information.
Your Worship, there's 3 applications for this development. One is the OCP, which is speaking of now, and then also to zoning next. And the development permit deals with some details regarding site plan, landscaping, form of character, that sort of thing. But just to answer the question briefly, it is proposed that it be 2 parts of the same development. At this point in time, it's anticipated that it will be split into 2 separate lots, in which it essentially be developed as 2 separate pieces. And that's why it's not integrated in the internal road.
Right.
It does meet all our bylaw requirements for roads and access and turnarounds, that kind of thing.
It's just like I said, it would seem to me to make more sense if it can be done, but anyway, not an issue for the moment.
Thank you, Worship. I agree with the license council that this is the kind of developments, the fact that there's a covenant that says that the second phase happens. My only concerns with regards to that are enforcement won't be easy, I'm sure. And secondly, nothing guarantees that phase 2 will be built, especially based on what you've just said, that it's being split into 2 phases. But I guess if phase 2 is built, it has to be built with rental housing. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm going to speak to that in the rezoning a little bit, but the covenant is for a 10-year time period, and the 10-year time period is for phase 2, the southern portion of the property. When the building permits are issued, that's when 10 years starts. And there's no guarantees that it would be developed. If it's to be developed, then it would be requirement is for a period of 10 years.
Okay. So just to clarify that then, from the date of the first phase, 10 years from that date, that then it doesn't have to be rented, it's from date of development that it has to be rented for 10 years?
Yeah, we'd see that based on, likely be phasing in the development,
Okay.
of a series of units there.
Right.
And essentially, the covenant would state from the time of building permit issuance. So the first 4 units would be 10 years, that was in 2008. And at the end of the project, it was 2010 when the final units are built. And that 10 years will start at that point in time.
And my only concern, I'm in favor of the OCP amendment, I'm in favor of the rezoning. My only concern, I'm not sure that we'll even be able to, because based on the square footage, they're not going to be small. Although they may be more affordable than anything we've seen up until now for this type of development.
Yeah, I don't think it's so much, we're not geared in on the affordability side, we're geared on if there's units available for rental, which implies accessibility, I guess, for some.
No, I think I agree with Councilor Lyson. It's a lot of steps in the right direction, and I think staff's been very forward-thinking in this, and I'm definitely voting in favor.
Any further questions? Councilor Richard?
We're talking about land use here, and I'm totally supportive as well of increasing density. As Councilor Lyson pointed out, the location is ideal for high-density housing, so I'm fully supportive.
Thank you. I too would support it regardless of whether comfortable or not. I would support higher densities. All in favor of the motion? Carried. Finally, zone bylaw amendment number 3652. Motion.
Moved by Councilor Lyson, second by Councilor Cannon, that the bylaw entitled zoning amendment bylaw number 3652 read first and second time. And that final reading is also the following. Number 1, Ministry of Transportation approval. Number 2, adoption of the associated community plan bylaw. And number 3, registration of section 219. Entitled that covenant prepared by the applicant and approved by the city, stipulating that the maximum number of units allowed for the proposed development shall not exceed 52, regardless of future subdivision phasing, in accordance with the site plan for development permit 343. Each of the 24 units shown in phase 2 is to be used as rental units for a period of 10 years from the date of building permit issuance, and the maximum height of all principal buildings shall 12 meters.
Anything to add about services?
I might just add that the bylaw 3652 is to rezone from R1 to R5, high-density residential zone, and the covenant that's been discussed between staff and the applicant has been agreed to by the applicant. And essentially what that does is lock in the development to be what's proposed at this point in time. The R5 zone does permit higher structures, as well as R5 itself will permit more dwelling units. So essentially the covenant locks into what council will be considering for approval in conjunction with the OCP, the zoning, and the development permit. Again, the comments are not unlike the official community plan amendment. It's the appropriate location for this type of development, and staff are supportive. I just have to note the applicant is here in attendance, and the council may have specific questions. He's likely to be able to answer those as well.
Council? Councilor Lyson?
Perfect. Question to you, Your Worship, to staff. This is the development permit for phase 1, not phase 2, or phase 1, 2?
The development permit would be for phases 1 and 2. It's essentially the same form and character.
Okay. If phase 2, if the development permit is good for 2 years, is it not, Your Worship?
That's correct.
So by having a covenant on there that 4 units would be rental property, if changes hands and they don't develop it, it'll still be on there. So you wanted to come in with the R5, so I mean perhaps taller or more dense, then that covenant would still be there. They would change the development permit over the long run. Is that correct?
Yeah, the covenant will be right with the land, and should the covenant need to be changed or request to change the covenant, would have to come to the town.
Again, I'll support this.
Councilor Hidsand?
So I think along the same lines, the 10-year period starts from the date of the building permit issuance. Remind me, building permits expire after how long?
Yeah, there's a time limit on that.
Okay. So in other words, you couldn't issue a building permit, have 10 years, and wait 10 years to actually build things, and then have the 10-year limitation